Hi everyone, I'm Babina. Welcome to the inaugural episode of our Blue Lightning podcast series. This is more than a podcast. This is a dedicated forum for the partnership between Cognizant and the newest mobility powerhouse, Bolt. So to launch our first episode, we are honored to have a global leader who is currently steering the ship of innovation and mobility, Neil Ellet, the Vice President of Customer Support at Bolt. He brings an incredible track record of resilient tech environment that doesn't just raise tickets, but also build brand loyalty. So Neil, we are thrilled to have you here today. Discuss your journey and your roadmap ahead for the new mobility sector.
Super excited to be here. Thank you.
Okay, so every great journey has an origin and a start. So we would like to know what young Neil wanted to be growing up and how far off is that from your seat of Vice President at Bolt at present?
So totally different. I wanted to be a fighter pilot when I was a child. That was my dream. I read Biddle's books and built airfix kits and always wanted to fly. And I was sponsored through school and university to be a pilot. So the first chunk of my career was a pilot. I joined the Air Force, flew in the military, fast jets, and then helicopters in combat. But reached the point where I needed to do different things. It wasn't the right lifestyle. I'd been in war zones. I wanted to do something different with my life. So I ended up in big and small companies and working my way through. So I've sort of fallen into customer support from a very long and different career path. But absolutely love it. Wouldn't do anything else.
Okay, so maybe if you would like to share it. So is there any person like a mentor or a friend of yours or a family member or even a random stranger who you think has inspired you to reach your career that you have now?
I think two things. I mean, the military was very good at teaching leadership and was a great place to learn how to work with people. It's easy to think that it's all about just ordering people to do things, and it's not. When you're trying to get people to do very complicated or dangerous things, risk their lives, understanding how to inspire people and motivate people. So there's a lot of different lessons I took out of the military. When I left and went into consulting, there was a senior partner called Patrick, who was my first boss. He was a fantastic guy, and one of the things he really inspired me about was about how being human as a leader, how important that is. He would stop, he would think, very smart guy, he would listen, but he always gave people the freedom to try things, to fail, frankly. And it was okay, you'd learn from it and come back again. So I guess Patrick would be the one person that really got me started in my career after being military and thinking very different about how I worked with people and how I worked with and around businesses.
So still now you're in touch with Patrick?
He's retired, yeah. Occasionally we still swap notes, but I think he's would probably never want to hear from me again because he's happy in his garden and well out of business.
Okay. So now let's shift gears from past to present. So all the viewers would be curious. So being vice president, so we just need to know what a day in your life looks like.
So it's super hectic. I mean, my calendar is always packed. There's hundreds of Slack messages. So actually, I try and start my day by just taking a step back and stopping. Looking through my schedule and say, okay, what of this stuff is really important, and what do I have to achieve out of this day? But also, what do I have to achieve this week? Because there's a few things that it's easy to keep super busy every day and never really achieve something. So I try and start from what do I need to do? What's the difference I need to make? The decision I need to make, or the bit of context I need to give, or the outcome that only I can achieve at the end of this day and this week. And then across all of the meetings and interactions I'm having, why am I there? What do I need to do? So I'm not just turning up at a call, listening, reading something and saying a few words and moving on. There's a reason I'm there. So sometimes I'll just not come to things because I'm not leaded. No one needs my input or decision. Or there's a certain thing that I have to do to shape in that meeting. So I try and think and structure my day very carefully so that each interaction is valuable. And that it is just fighting the fires and bouncing between things and dealing with the day-to-day excitement in Slack.
Okay. So skating at this speed, requires both vision and the right partners. Yeah. So can you just talk about your role in navigating that growth and how this collaboration with Cognizant fits into that big picture?
So you're absolutely right. It is about the right partners. I mean, I think in any business at scale, it works through people, and you can't touch everyone. So you need the right culture. You need the right mindset from the beginning. So particularly for us in customer support, because a big chunk of it is outsourced, the number of different providers we use adds a lot of complexity. So simplifying that was super important. And then finding the right providers that could be true partners, that could sit alongside us as Bolt, as an extension of Bolt. So I needed to find a company that had the same types of values. And it's really interesting, the 5 Cognizant values and the 5 Bolt values align quite well.
They share the DNA.
It is, exactly, which is really good. But also the right people, but that sense that people being hired into Cognizant and the care, that have the same passion, the same focus as if they were my own people at Bolt. So really through the early conversations where we were talking to the team and various leaders of Cognizant, Shanks and so on, and being really confident that when we selected Cognizant, they would also be hiring, finding, training and onboarding the same people that I would choose if I'd hire them myself in the God. So that's, and we're seeing that so far. It's really exciting.
I'm glad to know that. Okay, so we have covered the past and the present. So let's move into the future. So you are aware that almost a decade we have convinced people that they don't really even need a car. Okay, so looking ahead, according to you, what would be the next standard of life? Okay, so which do you think, like currently it would be a very necessity in this current era, but something which will become obsolete in the future, according to you?
So I think it's going to be driving, actually. I think it's still cars, but it's autonomous vehicles. I think they're going to completely change the way people think about travel and driving. I mean, it's still the same concept, rather than hail a car with a driver turning up, you'll just hail a car that will just turn up itself. But the amount of time and money and effort that's wasted because cars are sat there in parking or in drives. I think there was a study a few years ago in Los Angeles, drivers spend about 12 minutes every trip just driving around looking for a parking space.
Yeah.
So if the car can do that itself, and if you don't need a parking space, so much of cities is taken up with car parking, or homes have car parking. Big malls have massive parking spaces. If the cars can drive themselves somewhere else, go outside the city, or park over in a field and come back in half an hour later, I think it will transform the way cities are designed. It will free space up for different things, and it will free people up. When the time you have in the vehicle, you're not trying to drive it yourself or worry about it. You can put that time to use. And of course, the number of accidents that are still caused by people, because we're all people. So again, if you have a bunch of cars that are just driving sensibly and safely and avoiding each other, the amount of the cost, the human cost of cars as well, will drop dramatically. So I think autonomous vehicles will drive a whole bunch of change in society and towns that maybe use our lives as well that people haven't really thought about yet. That's going to be exciting to see.
Okay, so we are optimizing for instant deliveries. All the speed is something that the people value here.
Yeah.
So do you think there would be one thing that the customers would start valuing more than speed in the next 5 years?
Action. So I think we're going through this journey now of everything is super quick and everything is autonomous and everything is automated, and I think people need people. When I think about deliveries coming to my home from any internet provider, the thing I remember isn't that the box or the package has arrived and outside my door. It's when I open the door and someone hands it to me. I think about their smile or their interaction, and whether they've thrown it at my door and banged on it, run off. So I think in everything, it's still the human contact that actually makes the difference in what you can remember. And of course, in our business, we're dealing with the things that go wrong, because everything goes at scale, at speed. Things will break. So how we fix those things and the impression you leave is what will matter. And AI is going to get better and better. We're going to be able to give people a good feeling through better tools, but ultimately it will still come down to that connection with the human being. So our agents our associates, our specialists that are solving those problems and dealing with people is what people will remember. And that's what in years to come, I think, as we get more automated and faster everything, that's what people value.
Okay, thank you. First response matter. So the first thing you do when you wake up, is it coffee or phone?